From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Thursday, December 1st. And boy, does it feel more like winter today. Below normal temperatures are sticking around today. Going to have a lot of sunshine, so that's some good news. The highs will only make it into the upper 30s. Also, some good news is the winds are expected to be fairly light today, so we won't have those gusts like we had yesterday that really chilled you to the bone. All right, to iTeam 8 now. iTeam 8 talked to a local gun expert to explain critical pieces of evidence in the Delphi murders. According to the newly released documents in the case, investigators are connecting Richard Allen to the murders through a bullet found at the scene. iTeam 8's Cody Fisher reports on how investigators could make such a link and how reliable it may be.
The gun expert I'm speaking with tells me it is possible to link an unspent round to a specific gun, but it's also something that can be challenged in court. This is a .40 caliber Sig Sauer Model P226. According to the prosecution, it's the same model of gun Richard Allen has, linking him to an unspent round found between the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German in 2017. This gun was loaded with fake rounds to show what it takes to eject an unspent round.
You have the extractor of a gun, which is just a little claw that sits inside the slide of a semi-automatic firearm.
Guy Relford is a gun range instructor and a defense attorney who handles gun cases exclusively. He says there are a few reasons why an unspent round might be ejected.
It could be a malfunction. It could be to induce fear in someone.
A gun makes an imprint on the round when it's ejected, whether it's spent or unspent.
When that little metal claw made contact with this metal shell casing, part of the cartridge, it left a mark.
According to Relford, each gun leaves its own unique signature on a casing when it's ejected.
It's been accepted in courts that with the right level of magnification and the right analysis, it can be as conclusive as fingerprints.
Just because the probable cause affidavit says the unspent round belonged to Allen's gun doesn't mean it is. Even the police affidavit calls the bullet identification subjective in nature. Relford says that could come down to expert witness testimony about how the round was analyzed and the level of magnification used to look at it.
You could very easily have defense experts say it's not as reliable and it's not as conclusive and shouldn't be the basis for a jury finding beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed a crime.
Relford tells me that if Richard Allen's attorneys can prove scientifically that the unspent round did not come from Allen's gun, it would completely change where this case could go. Reporting in Indianapolis, Cody Fisher, Wish TV, iTeam 8.
And Indianapolis police are working to identify a suspect in a fatal shooting. It happened just before 8 last night on 29th Street, just east of MLK. IMPD says a homeowner told responding officers there was a man shot in their backyard. Medics pronounced that man dead at the scene. Investigators say they're talking to witnesses but have nothing to release about a potential suspect. The Biden administration is condemning the Indiana Attorney General's request to discipline the doctor who performed an abortion on a 10-year-old rape victim from Ohio. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said this yesterday of Todd Rokita's complaint. This is not about the victim at all. This is an elected official going after a doctor for helping a child who was raped and seeking health care. Rokita claims Dr. Caitlin Bernard violated state law by not reporting the girl's abuse to Indiana authorities. He says Bernard also violated patient privacy laws by publicly talking about the girl's treatment. He now wants the Indiana Medical Licensing Board to take action, but has not specified a penalty. Bernard's lawyer responded by accusing Rokita of trying to intimidate physicians. Their statement reads in part, Dr. Bernard complied with all reporting requirements, cooperated with law enforcement officials, and discussed a case example only in a de-identified way within the bounds of applicable privacy laws. Mr. Rokita is doubling down on the frivolous consumer complaints by referring them to the licensing authorities. Local Republican leaders say Senator Mike Braun's capacity for cash will be a big benefit as a candidate for governor. Braun has formally launched a campaign committee for a run in 2024. He funded his successful Senate campaign in 2018 largely through millions of dollars in personal loans. He also heads into the race with distinct ideological differences from some other prominent Republicans. Earlier this year, he criticized Governor Holcomb vetoing a bill banning transgender girls from competing on girls' teams in school sports. This week, Braun split from fellow Republican Indiana Senator Todd Young by voting against a bill protecting same-sex and interracial marriage. The field of hopefuls is growing. Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch has already raised more than $2 million for a campaign, though she's not announced her candidacy. Fort Wayne businessman Eric Doden has raised a similar amount since he kicked off a campaign last year. Others frequently mentioned but not committed: Congressman Trey Hollingsworth, former Governor Mitch Daniels, and former state school superintendent Jennifer McCormick. And Representative Hakeem Jeffries has won a historic bid to lead House Democrats. No one challenged Jeffries in yesterday's caucus votes for House Minority Leader. Jeffries replaces outgoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Democrats also voted to make Catherine Clark House Minority Whip and Pete Aguilar House Democratic Caucus Chair. President Biden is urging the Senate to move quickly to head off a railroad strike. The House voted yesterday to impose the terms of a tentative workers' contract while adding 7 days of paid sick leave. The measure passed with wide support from Democrats and a split among Republicans. Indiana's Jim Baird and Rudy Yakim joined 77 other Republicans to vote yes. The state's other Republican representatives voted no. The president is sending the transportation and labor secretaries into closed-door discussions with senators with a goal of getting a yes vote by the weekend. And President Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron are celebrating a long-standing relationship between the U.S. and France. Biden tweeted a photo overnight of dinner with the Macrons, who arrived yesterday. Biden will honor Macron tonight with the first state dinner of his presidency. Officials from both sides say talks will likely focus on Russia's war in Ukraine, China, and the Inflation Reduction Act's impact on climate change.
The circumstances that bring us here tonight, they're terrible. The hardest part, we cannot change the outcome.
A grieving mother shares her story. Her son was one of 4 University of Idaho students stabbed to death at an off-campus home last month. The school held a vigil last night to honor the victims. Friends and family filled the university stadium to share memories, listened to a choir, and held a moment of silence. Police in the town where it happened, Moscow, are now backing away from an early claim about the case. In a statement on social media, police say that there was miscommunication with a prosecutor who said the deaths were the result of a targeted attack. Detectives say they do not know if that was the case. And a local expert is closely watching a spectacular sight in Hawaii. Mauna Loa erupted this week for the first time since 1984. There are huge lava spills and lots of smoke. Jonathan Delphi is an assistant professor of seismology at Purdue. Mauna Loa has been quiet the last few decades, but Delphi says it usually erupts every 5 years.
So over, let's say, geologic timescales, hundreds of thousands of years, this is a very common event. This is basically why Hawaii looks like it does. It's because of eruptions coming out of the Mauna Loa and other associated magmatic centers. On the human timescale, though, things are a little harder to predict, but we're really good at monitoring whether there's potential for an eruption.
Delphi says the main concern right now is lava flows reaching homes and that the area must also watch for ash, dust, and earthquakes. The co-CEO and vice chair of Salesforce is stepping down. The software company announced Brett Taylor's departure yesterday. Taylor played a major role in Salesforce acquiring Slack, a messaging app for businesses. He also previously served as the chair of Twitter and the chief technology officer of Facebook, and he helped create Google Maps. Taylor is set to leave January 31st. The company's other co-CEO, Mark Benioff, will step up as CEO and chair. Indianapolis Animal Care Services says savable animals are at risk of euthanasia amid a space crisis. The shelter says it currently houses more than 350 animals. According to IACS, that number is normally between 200 and 250. Shelter officials say more animals keep coming in, but few are finding homes. You can help IACS right now through wishtv.com. Just go to the As Seen on Wish TV section of our website where you can click on this story. Starting today, you'll pay more when eating out in Fishers. A new food and beverage tax starts today, adding 1% to your bill. The City Council approved the tax in October. The money raised through the tax is earmarked for the construction of a $170 million event center. With county and state levies added in, total taxes on food and drinks in Fishers are now 9%. The Marion County Public Health Department is marking World AIDS Day with a free resource fair. This year's message and theme is putting ourselves to the test, achieving equity to end HIV. There will be free HIV and STD tests, dental screenings, plus flu and COVID vaccines. The event runs from 3 to 7 tonight at Eskenazi Health Center. To business headlines now. The latest jobs report shows that the U.S. labor market is in decent shape, but Bank of America sees trouble looming in the distance. During the first quarter of 2023, the bank projects that the U.S. will be losing roughly 175,000 jobs a month. The bank also says they expect a recession in the first half of 2023. Eli Lilly's COVID-19 drug is not currently authorized for emergency use in the United States. The Food and Drug Administration said, citing it is not expected to neutralize the dominant subvariants of Omicron. Wednesday's announcement takes away authorization from the last COVID-19 monoclonal antibody treatment, leaving Pfizer's antiviral drug Paxlovid, Merck's, and Gilead Sciences as treatments for the disease, besides convalescent plasma for some patients. Mark Zuckerberg has joined the Apple bashing party. The Meta CEO says it's problematic that one company controls what kind of app experiences get onto the Apple Store. Spotify also has criticized Apple charging 30% of all app companies' profits. The cost of a Christmas ham, like most everything else, will be higher this year. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the average price of ham is currently $5.65 a pound. In 2021, the average price per pound for ham was $4.83 a pound. When compared to 1978, the price of ham is 180% higher in 2022. And 50 years ago, Atari released Pong. It wasn't the first video game ever created, but it has become a classic. Atari sold more than 8,000 Pong arcade cabinets. A few years later, the home version of Pong would become an instant success, with Sears selling about 150,000 units of the console you needed to play the game. All right, to some sports. The college football playoff could expand sooner than expected. Organizers for the Rose Bowl say they're willing to alter contracts, clearing the way to expand from 4 to 12 teams for the 2024-25 seasons. The Associated Press cites an anonymous source who says the Rose Bowl is prepared to be flexible and wants to continue to be part of the playoff beyond 2025. To have a 12-team playoff, the Rose Bowl would need to host a semifinal in its traditional January 1st time slot. Rose Bowl officials had asked the college football playoff to guarantee the game would remain on New Year's Day in the new format, but playoff officials had been unwilling to make any binding commitments. The presidents and chancellors who oversee the playoff will have final approval on expansion plans. Indiana and Purdue are performing like powerhouse college basketball programs. Each team woke up 7-0 today. First, the Indiana Hoosiers are celebrating a big, nationally televised victory over North Carolina. Trace Jackson Davis led IU with 21 points and 10 rebounds. North Carolina started the preseason as the nation's top team, since dropping to number 18. The 10th-ranked Hoosiers outscored the Tar Heels in the paint and decimated its shooting game to pull out the 77-65 win. A few past greats got to see the win in Bloomington. The team tweeted out a video of former players C.J. Watt, Cody Zeller, Jared Jeffries, and James Blackman Jr. in the locker room post-game with a caption reading, "It's all love." Indiana takes on Rutgers next to open Big Ten play on Saturday. And Purdue keeps winning, no matter where in the country they play. Fresh off a tournament trip to the Pacific Northwest, the Boilers shrugged off an overnight flight delay on the way to Tallahassee to play Florida State. Zach Edey has now scored at least 20 points in 6 straight games as Purdue has climbed to 7-0. Final win was 79-69. Next up, a home game against Minnesota Sunday. And Butler knocked off an unbeaten team last night. All 5 Bulldog starters scored in double figures to beat Kansas State at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Manny Bates led the team with 22 points. Final score, 76-64. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com. And follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.